Bandito Radio 112 FM, a streaming radio station for all toy enthusiasts, collectors, photographers, and customizers. Built to match your mood and passion. Music from hip-hop to country and all the rock in between, with host Howlin' Jim Jackson. For a dose of the macabre, there's Myra's Morgue of Midnight Madness. Plus our newest collector podcast, Purple Gang Gang Full Frontal Purple. And Action Figure Frequencies. With your hosts, SKN's own Chet Maddox and Alexander Storm. Bandito Radio 112 FM. Available to stream now on Spotify, Podbean, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and YouTube.
And it is that time again, fantastic people in the chat. You are watching Toy Box Chronicles. I am your lovely, gorgeous, sexy host, Chet Maddox, along with the absolutely fantastic, full sex appeal, Mr. Alexander Storm, bringing in the thunder. How are you doing today, sir?
Man, doing all right, Chet. Doing all right. How you doing, brother?
Man, I'm doing great. You know, it's a great show. We have Ace on today. It is going to be fantastic. We want to let everyone know that we are going to be focusing on the conversation, and we'll hit up any specific questions that they have in the channel for Ace. And I advise you to ask as many as you can. But I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
Someone told me something was happening today. Someone said the 23rd, and I haven't seen shit. So, and I like something happened to what, do you know what's supposed to go on today?
You know, they never tell us anything, man. I just heard something was happening, and so far I haven't seen a single thing, man.
Yeah, dude. I forgot to tell you, what was it? So I know that someone had said something about this whole like thing happening on the 23rd, and I couldn't remember what they said, so I was just No, you know what? You know what I can tell you?
What, brother?
Fuck it, run it. That's right. Welcome to America's premier toy podcast. Like I said, I'm Chet Maddox, your lovely, gorgeous host, along with Alexander Storm. And it has been way too long. So without further ado, we want to bring up the sexiest toy producer known to man on planet Earth. bringing in way more sex appeal than we like to have on this channel, Mr. Ace. Welcome, sir.
Dig it. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. Welcome to the cast.
It's way more than I can afford. Thank you so much.
Oh man, when you come bringing this much sex appeal, Ace, it is unbelievable, and we have to acknowledge it because we wouldn't be doing it justice if we hadn't. How have you been? We haven't seen you in person since Toylanta. What's been going on?
It's been going on toys because I've been back here in home base trying to get all the stuff ready for the next expedition to the US. That'll be in June at back in Georgia, right? August in Joe Fest. So yeah, I've been busy getting stuff done. As you can see, some updates yesterday on the Ace of Aviation test shots of the modular figure that you were seeing at the Toylanta. So yeah, pretty much up to my forehead on stuff.
That's awesome, man. Speaking of forehead, let's get close. There it is.
There it is.
Awesome. Well, there's been a lot going on, and Mr. Storm, how are you doing? We didn't really get into that. I think everything got disrupted, things changed. It was
No, man, everything's good, brother. You know how we do it, man. Everybody, if you watch the rest now, you're watching Best Toy Box Chronicles, episode 63. Myself, Chet, and the man that delivers the toys, Ace. We're on tonight, brother. Looking forward to it too, man. Been way too long, brother.
So I have a question. How do you feel Toylanta went this year, Ace?
Well, it's my first Toylanta, Chet, and I think that it was good. It did not leave me like, oh, what is this? It's like fantastic because I had my third con in the US. The first time round was PowerCon in Ohio, Columbus. That was really fantastic. It was a nice big hall. And then I had Joe Fest last year, obviously. And then this time around, we had a trip to Toylanta to support the whole community. Met some great people there, obviously. And, I like it also because it's in a brand, like to me, it's a brand new convention space, right? It's not an old place. It's like brand new. So yeah, looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, I know it was great. It was great to see you there. It was kind of a surprise. We showed up and then we were like, oh, he's taking massive photos. Now he's at Toylanta, so we were excited. And then also being in the same area, I think we got to connect. And what we were talking about, and this is something I would be curious to hear from you as well, is like just the community side of Toylanta. I think is different than most conventions. Would you say that's probably fair?
I would say that's fair. Yep, I don't disagree.
Okay, good. Because I didn't want to be the only one over here. I don't know about you, Storm. What did you think?
Actually, you know what? I thought it was. Again, we've gone to a whole bunch of conventions, and again, I said the difference between there's a corporate element of going to like WonderCon that was at the same weekend. It doesn't feel like the way it did with Toylanta. Toylanta felt like was more people, more toy tubers than I expected to see. And some of the bigger ones, Mecha J Retro, a couple of the guys were there as well. That was really cool. And the vibe was different. I think people were specifically there just for the toy designers, toy makers. And it wasn't like they were there for some kind of, like in San Diego Comic-Con, Hall H and the next Marvel movie or anything else. It was a good mixture of people just being there for toys and appreciating toys. And it was just, I thought it was the best convention I've been to in probably a decade, man.
Yeah, good. So Ace,
yeah,
what's been going on in the old bowl of Ramen Toys? What's been going on over there? What do you got? How's things?
Yeah, so like I said, I am gearing up for Joe Fest. So basically, kind of firing on all cylinders now, trying to get that exclusive that we sort of teased a couple of weeks ago to get that in production and ready for Joe Fest. Amidst all the chaotic situation with shipping stuff to the US itself, but I'm sure that the storm will settle soon, hopefully, and we'll have something to show at the show. Obviously, as well as the MOOC, right? It's SUK. The S is silent with the MOOC, which is the Mobile Underground Command, sewer command, right? So
Okay.
we changed a little bit just to cater to people, right? Yeah, that will be on show at Joe Fest. Test shot
Okay.
is in hand. Gonna build it up. Gonna bring it over. Gonna show people how you can stack them up. You can see the whole
Okay.
thing in the flesh. No longer a prototype. Trying to get the Ace of Aviation Wave 2 all printed up and ready to show at Joe Fest as well. And yeah, whatever else that comes into the pipeline in my already full bag of tricks will be
So
announced.
so at the convention, will you have like the full version of the sewer system, like everything, light
Yeah,
ups,
everything.
every like add-ons, everything they can get?
Yeah, everything, but in probably not colored yet. I don't think I may have time to actually color it yet, but we'll see, right? We'll push on. It's about a month away to Joe Fest, and obviously I got to ship those things in advance of my personal travel. Unless I can fit it into the luggage, I'm not too sure. So I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out, and then trying to get as close as possible to the production as I can. But like I said, I guarantee minimum we're gonna show you a like a test shot in the flesh. Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. Now, the one thing I did think that I made the Musk a little bit better was the lighting system. How difficult that is to put into like a piece like that. Is that like when you're initially designing, first of all, when you initially designed it, was lighting a part of it from the beginning, or as you started designing in it, you were like, you know what, I think lights would work for this?
No, Alex, from the get-go, lights was always going to be an integral part of the whole product because as I've seen the NECA sewer layer that people have displayed with the street scene on top, the whole thing below is dark. So you want to see a collection, right? But at the same time, we understand that, generally in a sewer, it's not like brightly lit, it's like little bulbs here and there. So we try to have the same feeling with the selection of the LEDs that we used. And of course, with the Ramen Racer being a USB-C powered product, we thought that, if we don't have that in this product, it'll be a step down. But at the same time, we figured that it's a different animal, right? With the Ramen Racer, it is portable. You can bring it around. You can charge it. You can light it up with the USB. But with the Dioramen, it's more like a stationary thing. And whether or not you have that USB thing, it's relative in my opinion. And with that USB, you just have to wire more stuff in a sense. So I thought that a singular independent little circuit with the LED with the batteries would suffice for what we're doing. But again, it's not too difficult for customizers to go and put on wires themselves and do it, because the main thing for us is that we don't have a covering at the back of the diorama. So without the covering, wires will be left exposed, and that's not the proper way for a manufacturer to deliver a product with wires like exposed. So we'll leave that to the customizers and your good hands to go do it, which is possible all the way up.
Yeah, with a giant disclaimer that says if you add wires to the back, we're not responsible.
Thank you. Which I can dig it. I've also saw some of the add-ons, the telephone booth, the mailbox, all these other things. Again, like when you're designing this stuff from the beginning, are those things like, did you look at what you saw before, you saw it was lacking, and then you thought, well, this is the market, this is what I can do to add some stuff in?
Well, that actually came because we have seen like Kickstarters and how they have tiers, and we thought that it would be a good sort of a gimmick to get people. It's not gimmick, like a marketing strategy, right? To get people invested to buy units, because at the end of the day, as a manufacturer, I need to sell units, right? I'm not trying to just do 10 pieces here and 10 pieces there as a customizer for collectors. I'm trying to make a scalable business. So by that, it means units. And we know that we're still, a very independent outfit without, reach in all over like retail outlets. So we are really depending on yourself, on YouTubers putting the word out, our own website, our own Facebook, our own socials, and conventions, just basically the community. We are not yet on the platform like people of like other toy companies where they have a presence, in the conventions that you mentioned, that is more like corporate, where
Yeah.
you have corporate buyers and you have sustainable distribution. We are really just a very small outfit that people may not realize. So to that point, I was trying to encourage sales, and to encourage the sales, I put those tiers. I mean, I could have done it all as one package. That means just get us to 1,200, and I'll give you the whole thing. But we thought that it would be interesting, right?
Yeah.
Again, we are dealing with toys, and toys is meant to be fun. And getting to the tier and unlock one item is fun, but it must be logical. I wouldn't be saying that get me to 1,000 pieces. Do the math. You can do the math, right? So 200 times 1,000 pieces, $200,000. I'll give you some patches or some stickers. No, we don't do that.
I love the call out on that one, sir.
I'm just trying to use real life examples, right? So not putting down
Yep.
anything, just giving some real examples.
Yeah.
Yep.
And at the same
No, I
time,
agree.
I want to use your channel as a first time announcement, because we did mention that we will give the phone booth at 1,200 units sold. But if you can see now on our website, it's not even close to 1,200 yet. It's about 1,000 something. We're under 1,100. But as the announcement here, and to show that what we're doing is different from others, we are going to include the phone booth to all the people who have supported us on the Dioramen. We're just going to give it. Okay. But there's awesome. A caveat, right? So after we give this to those original buyers, then the phone booth, the mailbox, the street lamp, they will all be individually put on retail for purchase. That means if you did not order the whole thing now and may want to just buy the phone booth for your own diorama purposes, you can get it individually. That means you don't need to actually buy a sewer, right? Super sewer just to get a phone booth. It's illogical. I'm not going to spend $200 to just get a phone booth. No, you can buy the phone booth separately, but we're not trying to give the impression that these guys are like bastards. They don't reach the goal, and now they're selling us the phone booth. No, we will give the phone booth, even though we have not reached the goal, to everybody who has supported it, and we will now put the phone booth and everything else on sale so that other people who want these things can buy it. How does that sound?
That sounds absolutely fantastic, and that should roll in. And we did get a super chat in from Purple Gang, Van Johnson.
Hello, Van. You are not a bottle cap.
Ace is not a bottle cap.
That's awesome.
Look, like we said at the beginning of the show, I know Billy Page, a couple other guys have some questions specifically for Ace. We're gonna just let Ace roll out some stuff, and then we're gonna go back and hit your questions. So we see him in the chat. We're definitely not ignoring it. We'll definitely answer it. But no, that's great, man. Especially with the rise of toy photography, and those little like pieces and things add so much flair. Somebody may want to put obviously Superman or any other character into the phone booth. So hey man, kudos to you, Ace. Man, you done rock tonight's show. We weren't even expecting that. Great job, brother. Great job.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm just curious from your perspective, being someone that is like deep in the toy industry, obviously a collector from when you were a kid, and then what you do now in terms of like giving back to the community with producing the toys. Is there anything that you're currently excites you about the industry?
Ooh. Exciting for the industry is the independent rise of independent toy makers.
That's right.
Okay.
Because again, I can't do everything. They can't do everything. So everybody is doing their thing at their best level. Cyberzoic doing dinosaur parts that reminisces us to Dino Riders, but of course a totally different thing, right? You have what's that? The Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, making like animation like warriors. It's sort of like cartoonish style. Then you have the other side of the coin where it's more realistic, what's the name I'm looking for? The guys that
Mythic
do like
Legions?
dinosaur head. What?
The Mythic Legions?
Well, the other independent brand. There's another brand. I'll get to it. So yeah, so all
Savage
these
Crucible.
Savage Crucibles. That's right.
Correct.
That's right. So yeah, all these independent creators are really bringing to the table what the main toy makers are missing out, because they're still producing the relatively unarticulated He-Man figures, and they're still doing the Barbies. They're still doing, well,
Sure.
Transformers is a Transformer, right? So
Yeah.
so these are the things that is really exciting, because it brings more genres. If you look at it actually in totality, back in the day, in the 80s, 90s, we have so many
Hmm.
great creations, cartoons, and ideas that form into toys. But
Yeah.
again, not to put anybody down, nowadays you have the Paw Patrol, the Peppa Pig. It's not really, even the Ben 10s is not really a mass. It's not
Yeah.
a GI Joe. It's not
Sure. Yeah, I agree.
you know what I'm saying? So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm excited for the independent scene. Yeah.
And I think that does go on to something. I think that more original ideas are coming out of that scene now. And like you said, like you just said, where, Hasbro and a lot of these companies are still relying on legacy characters. And there's nothing wrong with them relying on that. But like, what's the new thing to ignite everyone? Well, they need independent people with brand new ideas. We saw Grindhouse and a bunch of other toy makers that were there, which just really was amazing. And one of the questions that I'll hit you with, Ace, because we know how busy this is whenever you're at a convention. Do you ever really get a chance to like leave your booth, go down and actually walk amongst and actually see new things and new things that get you excited about the industry? Or are you just really kind of like grinding and never really can kind of leave the booth?
That's the thing, right? When I was at PowerCon, I didn't leave the booth. When I was
Yeah.
at Joe Fest, I didn't leave the booth. But at Toylanta, without a booth, right, I was able to walk around.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that booth that I was at was basically Mega J's booth, and I
Oh,
asked
okay.
Mega J kindly, could you allow me to just put a few stuff there? So
Yeah.
Mega J was gracious, and I was like, hey, he will allow me to put some stuff on his table. So practically and theoretically, I did not have a booth at
Yeah.
Toylanta. It's all credit to Mega J, and I was
Okay.
able to actually walk around and then absorb the atmosphere of a con, and that was
Yeah.
when I was able to see things more clearly than when I was at a booth myself. So
Okay. Well,
yeah.
because I noticed the same thing when we were at Toy Atlanta. I went down, I saw the Four Horsemen and a couple things, but I never even got a chance to see. There was a guy that had the $6 Million Man, and I'm a huge $6 Million Man, like also like our buddy David Bonner is, and I never got a chance to get there because we were so busy. You never get there, so I started thinking like, well, you get a chance to walk down, enjoy yourself, have a moment. So I'm glad to Atlanta, and also mad ups to Mega J Retro, for allowing that to happen. Really cool dude. Um, you know again, like when you're in the design element that you are, like I know that you have a certain amount, like you said, you can't do everything. But the question I'm hit with the most is they see all the 80s stuff, everybody loves it, they soak it up. But I get the question of when will we get to see more of the 80s air vehicles? You've done a lot of land, but is there any air vehicles coming?
So air vehicles is definitely something I love, because
Hmm.
my other brand, Caliber Wings, deals exactly in air vehicles, like military jets.
Hmm.
So I'm definitely very interested in doing aircraft. However, because aircraft is normally big, much bigger
Yes.
than a car,
Hmm.
bigger than a tank. So I need to really like think about which is the ideal vehicle to offer,
Hmm.
something that the fans would love, and it
Yeah.
requires some thinking, because after all, it's going to be a huge tooling endeavor. So you don't want to be tooling something where it's not really that a product for
Hmm.
folks, and the tooling is the same cost, right?
Yeah.
if you make an A product and a Z product, in terms of the the aesthetics of the aircraft, the tooling is the same cost, but you sell so much less if you pick the wrong subject. So I'm definitely
Yeah.
thinking about it, and for 112 scale is so demanding
Yeah. Yeah.
to make something as a vehicle. 118 probably is more realistic, because
Okay.
again, I do not want to further, deform a vehicle to fit a
Hmm.
size boundary. I
Yeah.
did that with the tanks, because normally a tank in
Oh yeah.
112 scale has 7 road wheels. I did only
Yeah.
5. So in that sense, it still looks okay. But
Yeah. Yeah.
for an aircraft to be really squished, it will look funny. It will look
Yeah.
funny. So I'll see, whether I
Okay.
could do some kind of a new version of
Hmm.
something, or just get something that is in existence that is in itself much smaller.
Yeah, because I've got some notes here, and I don't know who wrote this, but they said a wolf that is in air, a thunder that might be blue, or a plane that a man Maverick used to fly. Well, just those, there's no no pressure or anything. It's just if you get around to it, just let us know.
Yeah. Well, the math will tell you if it's if it's 112 scale, this plane that Maverick flies is going to be
Yeah,
more than 1 meter long. So
yeah.
how are you going to actually even start to manage that?
Mhm.
Again, guys, for something that's so big,
Yeah.
you gotta spend extra the effort, not just 2 times, maybe 3 or 4 folds of the effort, because the bigger it is, the more details goes in, the more you have to 3D model it, the more you have to think about how the tooling is going to work, because it's going to now maybe be in parts, right?
Hmm.
The
Mhm.
front fuselage, the middle fuselage, the end. So the whole product needs to be stitched together in a sense. You can't have one tooling that's the whole thing. You can't have
Yeah.
that. So there's a lot of considerations, and once you have things that's all put together, then you have uh error points of whether it looks straight.
Mhm.
Could this point be like a little bit slanted because of the fact that over here is heavier? So again, I could go on all day about all these
Yeah, yeah,
design
yeah.
restrictions, but that's what we have to consider when things get really big. And once it gets big, sometimes you lose focus,
Mhm.
because on your computer screen, to see that model, there's only so much you can see.
Mhm.
if
Correct.
you
Yeah.
if
Yep.
you if you reduce it to see, then you miss many parts already. So that requires, basically, I'm just saying that it's going to be costing much more to do
Yeah.
something bigger. You got to have the prototype out. You're going to see the stuff that you missed on the computer. You got to go back to redo it, and so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, collecting still has boundaries. We want to collect
Mhm.
something, it has to be done within a certain boundary. It's not like the sky's the limit. We can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Chat, you want to get to some of these answers and the questions in the chat for Ace?
Yeah. I'm trying to find. They want you to make. Hold on. Wait.
Well,
You guys are like blow. You guys are like. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I've seen one. Let's get Billy Beige Customs. He said, "When is the last day for the pre-order of the Musk?"
The MOOC, right? The new
Mo-
name.
Okay.
No, there's actually no last day pre-order, because we understand the pre-order cycle. We've done this 4 years in a row already, and we see the spike once we release something for pre-order, and then it goes down, and then at the end of the cut-off date of the early bird, it spikes up a little bit, but not a lot. So
Mhm.
same thing here, but we don't have actually a early bird in this sense, right? We're just
Okay.
giving everybody a chance to buy up till 1200 for us to unlock everything. But as I've already mentioned earlier on the show, we're
Mhm.
unlocking it either way. And we
Yep.
will have to decide to make a certain number of products
Okay.
prior to uh, basically stopping we're not stopping any pre-orders. We're going to have to decide. All right. So if we
Yeah.
if we look at the trajectory, we look at the our ability to hold stock, etc., and then we may say, okay, we're gonna just put in an order for 1500. All right.
Hmm.
So which means that if we didn't hit 1200 by the time it's said and done of our production, then we have to hold about 300 plus pieces to hope to sell to
Hmm.
either resellers or more online orders in the days that come by, right? We can't
Yeah.
say, oh, let's go and do 2000 pieces, let's go do 3000 pieces. What's the point? Because we know that our
Hmm.
sales are trickling down at about 1050, 1080, right? So why are we making more? So we're gonna just calculate to make a bit more, so that we have a product on hand once it's out. So in that sense, there is no last day for pre-order. The last day is when we sell out. That's what I can
Got
say.
it. Got it. All right, Billy Beige, we
There's
got you on that one.
there's another question
Well,
here that
there you
says,
go.
does market research on consumer demand dictate 1/18 over 1/12 scale?
If we're doing market research, then we got to do both, because clearly there is enough demand for both skills. Now, then it comes to our own resources and capacity to actually make duplicates of the same thing in different skills. For example, now we have many requests to make the vans in 1/18, right? Do we want to just go ahead and do it right away, or do we want to I don't know, just hold on first, because there's other projects in the pipeline?
Yeah.
And when we do 1/18, we're not just going to do the exact same replica. We're going to do something different, because we're not in the style of just scaling up or scaling down the exact same thing. If we scale it down, we're going to make it different from what we have experienced on the 1/12, because on the 1/12, again, we have gotten feedback. We may have learned new things. Let's do something different and make the 1/18 a better version of the 1/12, but 1/18 scale. Same thing happens the other way around. If we did a 1/18 first and people want a 1/12, then okay, let's look at the 1/18, what we've done. How do we improve it so that we can make a better 1/12 version? So that's the way we go about thinking. And again, back to the question, market research will dictate both. So back to my question, when are we going to release the 1/18 van? I'll think about it and then look at the horizon, and then hopefully I can deliver something to the 1/18 community really soon. Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Another question I think is super important here is, how small is Ramen Toy employee size? 4 Horsemen is like 15 full-time employees. And I think that, and let me preface this question also with like my thoughts on it. I think it is important, because I think, as like toy collectors and growing up, we've only ever heard of like, Marvel or Mattel or like all these like big massive companies that the toy function is basically just like an arm of the business. So I really like this question. You don't have to go in detail if you don't want to go into detail, but I think it'd be good for the group to kind of hear the size.
Yeah, so Ramen Toy is myself in China, based in China, myself handling all the work with the factory. In Singapore, I have 2 partners who handles basically the accounts and handling the wholesale accounts, the accounts in terms of the banking stuff and everything, paying the vendors, making sure that the lights are on and the cash flow is managed. And another partner who handles the customer service, all the emails that we received at sales@ramentoy.com, that is handled by him. So 2 people in Singapore, and then we have a part-time who manages our website, right? Also based in Singapore, because our website does not require full maintenance every day. As and when we have new products, we put it up, that the person is called upon to do those things. And then we have another part-time order fulfillment person, because again, we're not shipping stuff every day. Most of our stuff on pre-orders. So as and when we are ready to ship, this person will go into the system, get down all the orders that you guys have placed with us. Mr. Who buys what, shipping to where, all in an Excel spreadsheet, and then that gets handed over to the logistics people who are not our employees, right? It's the logistics.
Sure, yeah.
That's why I'm always explaining that we don't handle the question. We can't answer you, where is my stuff? We just tell you that it's now handed over to the logistics, and then they will dispatch it based on their own way of doing things. So back to the nutshell, we are 3 people full-time in terms of Ramen Toy, and then we have part-time handling the website and the order fulfillment. And I got a little personal assistant in China here to help me with the after-sales email. So after-sales@ramentoy.com is when, let's say, you get your van and it's missing a wheel, it's missing a magnet, email us over there, and then we will get it to you. So that's the whole setup of Ramen Toy. Of course, where does all the creation comes from? We get it done with a very great sculptor from Argentina who is working
Oh.
with us on all the sculpts of Ramen Toy. Of course, he's not the only sculptor but he's our main sculptor, right? Julian Cabada from Argentina. And we do, because of the more projects coming along, we do now try to get freelance sculptors who have approached us, who has the abilities and skills to do stuff. So yeah, you'll see some of their work in the new Ace of Aviation, and perhaps when I am able to get that Knight Rider thing, you'll see his work as well in the figure that comes with the vehicle. So yeah, so that's how we work. A very small outfit. We don't have 15 people at all. So sometimes I really do apologize, but I really can't do much to answer the question of where is my order. Where is it? Where I don't know. I really don't know.
Well,
I think,
I'm sorry, Chad. We were at Toy Atlanta and we were talking, and you got an email. You were like, right, we were just talking about that. You were like, yeah, man, like I'm answering right now, and I'm like, wow, like Ace, you put the work down, brother. Go ahead, Chad.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I think the smaller shows like Joe Fest and Toy Atlanta and things like that are super important, because it gives you a chance, like the Purple Gang said, like all of us ultimately are like rooting and trying to be like the salespeople of the products. If the products are good, like we want to push them, and I think that's where it's like Purple Gang said, like you have the entire Purple Gang going for you and working for you over here. We're active on our end as well with everything that you're doing. So yeah, I mean it's cool to hear the inside of that, and we had conversations around that while we were out there, and I think what's good, I showed you, I just got one of the vans. I'm still waiting for the van that's not the 18 van to show up, but I really like it. Getting ready to turn it into Punisher's vehicle, so we'll see how that's going. Right now I'm working on something for another company, but yeah, it's gonna be great. How has the reception been for the Rev Van? How have you heard anything that's like shocking to you about it, or has the reception been pretty well for you? And do you find it was like more of an easier product to make?
Yeah, I think it's pretty smooth, right? We are trying to get to a point where we're zero defects. That is hard to achieve, but we're trying to get there, because I believe that everything is possible. Again, all these defects comes down to the factory worker who is at a point of time not focused on doing the job, or just human nature. If you do a job that's repetitive, you're bound to do a mistake. Just try yourself, right? If I ask you to type a word, just say the word, type the word in a document and type it 1,000 times. How many times would you have hit the wrong letter and type something else? So same thing here, right? They're all human beings, and of course you have the thing about QC, but again, QC itself is a human. You're basically trying to prove how great a human being can be, or how sharp and how flawless the other person who's checking the work is. So even the checker is a human and does make mistake, right? So that's just the way it is, man. We aim for flawlessness, but how many times have you had your best steak done just slightly off key and not so good? You know what I'm saying? So
far too many times. And also I think that the one level too is that while you have put, like, there's people working for you, there are people putting the product together, they're people, they're not machines. And in the world that we live in today, more times they want to replace like that human element with machine. That's the one thing that people should be really happy when you're buying from some of these smaller independent companies, is that it is putting people to work, and that is always a good thing.
And you know what, Alex? You really can't. Maybe you can, but you really can't replace the human labor in many of all these art forms, because a figure, for example, right? In order for the robot to be programmed to paint a mythic legion, you know how much work you got to go in to program the computer so that the hands are moving exactly at the place to spray the tone and all these things. And it's just, I don't know, maybe it's possible, but in my opinion, it's not possible. You know, only a human person can replicate art, I think so.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Absolutely agree with you. Uh, Van Johnson. So he's working on customizing one of your red vans, and to have another. Let me see. I've barely seen this. Have
Right.
another in. I would post the photos when they're complete and everything. Purple Gang Gang out there doing work, and let's see. Is like also used to run a machine shop. Human error is just a part of the manufacturing process. Absolutely. Yep. If you want something that looks unique, it's gonna have a human hand in it.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Chet.
Oh, sorry. You can keep going. I'm trying to catch up on all
Oh,
the
okay.
questions. Make sure we
Oh,
got.
I was
Make
just
sure we
want to
got all
make
of them.
sure. All
Sorry.
right. Other than that, now here's the part. I know you said Joe Atlanta and everything else like that. That's pretty much your main focus on this year for the summer market, or do you have any international things? Because I know you log miles, man. So is it a couple other shows planned around that,
Yeah,
or is
so
that
actually I'm
just
heading over to, I have some other shows planned, but it's not Ramen Toy specific.
okay?
I'll be going to Shizuoka Hobby Show in May. That's more a show for like scale models and die-cast stuff. And then I will head to Joe Fest, obviously, in June. I have an appointment to be at SDCC in July. And that's because we want to pursue that Flying Wolf project with maybe a potential partner. And we also, I will be back in like Shanghai in August for another like model show. End of August, I'll be back in my hometown of Singapore with another diecast expo. And by October, I'll be heading up to Shanghai again for the very big Wonder Festival Shanghai, a must-go event for anybody who is in this toys and collectibles scenes. And of course, I may round off the year I will round off the year maybe in New York for New York Comic Con. So that's where I'll be doing. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, that definitely
Cool.
works itself out. Got the mileage put on, brother. Mileage put on.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say, like, you already answered it, but I was gonna say the next time you're in LA, the first round's on us. But looks like we have that date because
All right.
we're only about 40 minutes away from Comic Con, San Diego. So
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay. I'll see you
so
there.
we're obviously going to
Right.
see you there, and then we were figuring
Yeah.
out we're figuring out the logistics to us going to Joe Fest as well,
Okay.
which would be ace. By the way, Joe Fest, if I can get there, would be my 1-year anniversary.
Yeah.
So that's
great.
nice. I hope you remember. I want
Yeah.
I want some gifts. I'm gonna bring you some chocolates.
Sure. I will.
One thing,
will.
Ace, that I noticed, and I will tell you this: I discovered this with the Ramen Racer. One, your packaging is next level. When it came through, it was packaging, another package. It was real taken care of. But I think the thing that's most impressive is the box art, because it is art. Are
Yeah.
you in the process of designing that, or you just let the artist do what he do and you come back and you pick it, or how does that process work?
Yeah. So normally back in the day when I am doing box art for my other products, I would get illustrators to illustrate an actual image of the subject they were doing. So, for example, if it's an aircraft, an F-16, an F-14, I'll get the illustrator to just do it. And then we will then get the graphic designer just laid out based on my vision of how it should look, whether it's like a black background or a metallic blue, etc., etc. That's the way I do it. But we were fortunate enough, as Ramen Toy went into our first year, that the great Gary G, right, if you're listening, has approached us to work together. And I thought that it'd be great if we had his help to churn out, box art to his abilities. He has great abilities. So in fact, when you saw all the revised 80s Commanders individual boxes, all the graphics are done by Gary G. The formation of the Machina Red Gullwing was also done by Gary G, as well as the Great White.
Oh, nice.
The Ramen Racer is a Gary G illustration and production. We have also the Rev that you have in your hands now. Those are done by Gary G. So yeah, we just let the artist, when we have an actual artist, to just handle it himself, because that's the best way, right? Let each person do what they are doing best. Do it. That's right. Yeah.
Where did you? So like, I want to be a
Hey,
little
Gregory?
bit more.
That's Gregory.
I want to be a little bit more specific on packaging for me. One of the things that I really loved was like inside and how it's packaged, so it doesn't like move around. Who did you have like did you come up with that? Did you have a team come up with that? Like the actual like inside and how it was like secured, because it was next level in all honesty.
For all products, then I am the one that handles how it actually gets displayed in the blister. So even at the point of 80s Commanders, when we first started, I decide where the figure is going and where the parts are going. Same thing for Quicksilver, Silverhawk, where the figure was going, while he was looking to the side. I wanted to give him that the bird on the arm sort of thing. So yeah, so all the design aspect is done by me in terms of putting the figure in either the styrofoam or the blister. Yep.
Okay, that was a good job. I mean, that's
and
great.
To Gregory,
I
I'm
think
actually 48. Sorry.
What happened? You forgot something?
Gregory asked how old I was. So I'm 48 years old this year. Yeah.
All right.
That's so rude. You can't ask that question. That's what I'm told, at least.
Yeah, well,
that's funny.
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they do.
I think I'm all caught up on the on the questions. I think we're good. So just wanted to make sure. What would you say in terms of like there's a lot of like negative talk and press going around about things that are happening back and forth with pricing and things like that from somebody that has like that is currently active in the toy industry, and we never really get too deep into it on this channel. More of just like how can you get around it, or what is something positive or something that we can kind of like take away from that. Like what is how are you feeling about the current state of all of that? Are you and you, if you don't want to answer, you don't have to. It's just one of those things where we like to see if there's anything like positive going on. There's enough people talking negative stuff on the line, so we try to keep away from that.
Okay, so this is all just purely my opinion.
Yeah.
Even in our own Singapore, Singapore citizens are complaining about prices going up. And then, in my opinion, again, I don't think any government can ever bring down the cost of living, because as we progress as a people, we're always gonna get things more expensive, not cheaper.
Yeah.
Because as our life conditions improve, we appreciate finer things in life. We want better things. We want to get a better quality plastic, a better quality speaker. The TV has to be now like, I don't know, 100 inches. I'm not sure the size now.
Yeah.
The standard is for TVs now, right? Right. So again, as all these improve, logically, it's not gonna be cheaper. It can only be cheaper if many people enter the industry to offer competitive prices, right? So the consumer only benefits from competition among makers of anything. So again, if there was only one company making Bluetooth stuff, then Bluetooth will be off the charts in terms of prices.
Sure.
Look how much cheaper Bluetooth devices have been over the years, right? So same thing here. The only way you can bring prices down is if you have competition. If there's no competition, then the prices will go up. Then again, why is there competition? There's competition because you have demand, and hence you have scalability. If there is no demand for something, you will still have prices going up, even though there's competition, because the next guy is trying to do better than this guy, but the quantity is smaller. Hence, in terms of your statues and all these things, you're not going to see it coming down, even though there's more statue makers, because there's a set price and a set customer base. So on that note, with prices, I believe that there's much bigger things happening beyond my pay grade, because for big corporations, making or losing money now may not affect the future, because they may have enough monies either from investors or from monies that they can borrow for the future. For example, give a good example. Cathay Pacific is a Hong Kong international airline, and yet you have news of Cathay Pacific. This was like back a few years ago, right? Needing to borrow significant amount of money to carry on their operations during the COVID times. So you see, but for people like us, the small independents, we don't have that ability to say, oh, I'm going to match a certain manufacturer's action figure at $24. Because if I do $24, I might as well just pack up and go home, because I'm not going to make a single cent based on my numbers, based on the factory cost, right? So there is reasons for certain companies to, let's say, want to price their products low. They may have a long plan. There may be monies in the company to support that plan to reach the long term. But whether or not that plan gets fulfilled in the long term, only time will tell. For Ramen Toy, we don't have the long term. We only see the short term, and the short term achievements will allow us to plan a bit longer term. If that makes sense. Thank you.
It does. It does.
Yeah, no, I think that's really well said. I think it's great. Yeah, it's good. It's good to hear. It's good to hear that side of it. So thank you for that.
I feel like every time Ace comes on the show, we get like an action figure 101, where it's like knowledge is always kicked in, man. I love that, man. No, every time, because this is the questions that people don't get, and it's refreshing to have somebody, especially. I know we were at Toy Atlanta, and there was the difference between the molding, the silicone, and like, you stood up, and you were like, no, this is what it is, and we're like, right here, we're being educated right here. Pay attention, because this might be something that might be on the test later on. Really cool, brother. Really cool. Other than when it comes to, I think what people don't understand is that we are all humans, and you chose to do this industry, but like, what's the things that keep you motivated, especially when you're talking about having an actual business that has less than 15 employees, like Four Horsemen. So there's a lot of work, a lot of tired nights and everything. What keeps you energized? What keeps you pushing? What keeps you going, Ace?
I guess pride keeps me going, because I have to answer to myself. I have to answer to myself to be the better me every day. Right, my first 80s Commanders I thought was pretty good, but actually it's not good looking back. And then I make it better, right? So every figure that I make got to be better. I got to see what I did wrong, what I missed out in the previous project, and make it better the next time round. Because again, I don't have all the answers, right? I think some of you guys may have seen one of Steve Jobs' earlier answering of a critic. He himself said that he doesn't have all the answers. Sometimes he speaks rubbish as well, or rather he doesn't know what he's talking about as well. So same thing here. I'm not saying I'm Steve Jobs, obviously. I'm just saying that even a guy like Steve Jobs admits that he does make mistakes. So imagine us mortals, right? So every project that we do, I can't see to every single micron. I can see as best as I can, but I may miss. For example, I missed out putting the display stand in the Great White. I was so focused on making sure that the car is right this time round, because we had issues with the first gull wing, such that the mechanism had some issues. I want to make sure that there's no such issues with the Great White. So I was so focused on making sure that the mechanism for the Great White is spot on, that I missed out saying, hey, you got to put a stand in the product, in the product, So
Yeah.
So there's always going to be a mistake, and I hate it, when the mistakes are discovered by the customer, which means I missed it.
Yeah.
I just have to say sorry. It's my fault, and I got to improve next time round. So that's what keeps me motivated. My own pride to do as best as I can. Not the kind of pride that goes before a fall, right?
Yeah.
But the pride in your own work. Yeah.
Great answer, man. And like Meek said, I put up is every time he shows up, Ace is dropping that knowledge, and every time he comes on the show, we are so appreciative of the knowledge. And like I said again, man, it the funny thing is every time you do come on the show, it never seems like it's an hour. It always seems like we're 15 minutes in. So it kind of sucks when we get to the point where it's like, oh, it's an hour in, and we're gonna be trampling on our buddies, the Sarlacc Digest podcast time. But like Ace, you've got a 100% open invitation. Anytime you want to come in, we're so appreciative of your time, man. Love all the stuff, love all the work that you're doing. Looking forward to seeing you down at SDCC so we can take you to dinner and buy you a drink, brother. And, I said, take care of you when you're there. We got you. And then same thing at Joe Fest, we'll do the same, and the Purple Gang will be there. So we'll start in. Of course, you've got the Purple Gang Army out there that's 100% letting everyone know that your great products are out there. Chet, you want to let anything else go?
Well, I mean, I want to give my time to Ace. If there's anything you want to say, obviously would love for you to hang out after we end the show. Got some things we want to talk to you about, but just want to give you time. If there's any last things you want to leave with everybody, I will make you full screen and you can have your speech of the year. But yeah, Ace, floor is yours.
All right, thanks, Alex and Chet, once again for having me back on your show. I really appreciate it, and I enjoyed the time speaking with you and your audience for answering the questions and then sharing a bit of my knowledge. It's always a pleasure to speak my passion. And we are definitely very busy on the back end to get all the products that we have pre-ordered with you guys to deliver as soon as possible. So we've done that earlier this year with the vans. I know some of you guys still waiting for your orders. We will definitely investigate what's going on if it's taking too long, right? So even Chat, if it's taking too long, please do get back to me so I can investigate. But I guess, like I said, things are being pushed out. Basically, the vans was done in January. After the Chinese New Year, they were still doing some batches. So as and when the batches was done, in fact, it was all done, like I said, before I went to Toylanta. So those were on the ship. It should be arriving anytime soon. So that said, the vans are pretty much a done deal. We are now going to deliver the second batch of the ramen racers, razor, etc. At the end of this month. Probably it will spill into May, because there's also another May Day holiday in China from 1st to 4th of May. So I'm expecting racers to be shipping out after that. Again, I will update all these things on our Facebooks and socials with pictures of the products in packaging, etc., etc. And I'm looking forward, obviously, to attend Joe Fest. Hopefully, by the time we have all the shipping issues resolved, so that we can actually ship the exclusives for Joe Fest to Joe Fest. I'm looking forward really to that, because we have going to be displaying real products this time, not the prototypes from last year. We have the armored vehicles as prototypes for last Joe Fest, but this time it's going to be the actual products. We're going to have the sewer diorama in the flesh for you guys to see what it can actually do. And then I'm going to have the Ace of Aviation Wave 2 for pre-order then, as well as the Titanium Titans initiative that I was working on with Riot Press since the last Joe Fest. Now we're pretty much ready to go. And with that said, I think I am done. Chet and Alex, thank you so much.
Well, don't worry. I'm not going to complain about how long it's taking to get the van because I think I've talked to you enough to know that I just wait. And then when it shows up, I'm excited about it. But yeah, I really appreciate the work that you do. It's always fun to talk. I was really excited. We got to actually hang out at Toylanta. So I'm looking forward to doing that. Hopefully at both, but very specifically, we want to grab some of your time for sure when you're down here for San Diego Comic-Con, because we for some reason this year, all of us that have always gotten badges all the time in the industry all got denied with the same denial letter for industry badges. So we're going to go and we're going to hang out on around the outside just to kind of get an idea of what's going on over there. But Ace, it was an extreme pleasure to have you on the show. Like Alex said, and I've said multiple times, anytime, any day, anywhere, happy to have you on, and just allow you to talk and do what you need to do. And we enjoy having you here. So we're gonna move you to the back, wrap this up, and then we'll be right back with you. And then we'll go from there if that works for you. Does that work for you?
All right. Okay. Thank you, guys.
All right. See you in a minute. All right, everyone. That is the show. Thank you for stopping by with Ramen Toys. We got to bounce because Sarlacc Digest is on. They have a fantastic show. And don't worry, stay here because it'll redirect you straight to their channel so you can go over there and start bombarding them with some Star Wars knowledge and see if they're really ready for May the 4th against Dr. Brentley. As always, check us out on Wednesdays and Fridays. I am Chet Maddox, your lovely, gorgeous, sexy, amazing host of any toy podcast to have ever existed, along with my gorgeous, sexy co-host, Alexander Storm. And bringing the sexy heart on this episode was Ace. And that is, well, I got a problem with that, but it's fine. It's fine. I'm going to let it slide. We'll see you guys all on Friday. Again, check out Purple Gang Gang and their show Full Frontal Purple on Bandito Radio 112 FM, along with Alex and myself on Action Figure Frequencies. And that is, we just dropped a new block of that, and you can check that out. And hopefully you love all the updates, and we had fun making them. And this is a new channel, and we're excited. So thank you from everyone here, from SK and all the people that do all the work in the back. We appreciate you, all the editors, all the designers, everything else like that. And we will have an update for you. A while back, we announced Skull and Bones, Legends of the Seven Seas. We are going to be having updates for you very soon, and we're just working through the team to figure out when that's going to happen. So again, from myself and from Mr. Storm, we appreciate you. You guys are fantastic. Not quite as good as us, but that's to be said. And Purple Gang Gang, I know you got my number. It's fine. It doesn't matter. I'm going to show up one day with a purple shirt, and you guys aren't going to know what to do. So there's that. Anyways, Mr. Storm, final thoughts.
We're out.
We're out. Keep chasing that plastic dragon. We'll see you guys.